Hey guys, Scott back again with new beer dissection for you this evening. What I have tonight is from Montauk Brewing Company, their summer ale. I believe it's a seasonal thing. I've seen this before. I'm not going to say I've never had this before. I'm sure I have had it. First of all, Montauk Brewing Company is on the east end of Long Island here, South Shore, almost at the very tip of Long Island. I'm sure these days they were bought out by Big Beer a handful of years ago or so. If you work for them and you have more information you would like to share, chime in under the comments. They're out by Big Beer, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're brewing beer elsewhere or maybe subcontracted with a different brewer with the same recipe or whatever. I'm filming this in the beginning of July of 23. I've reviewed a bunch of under the beer dissection other summer ales from even Sam Adams and things like that. A lot of them had like a lemon theme or fruit theme. They're easy drinking, sessionable. Sam Adams, I think, was Ditch Days. I did a whole series on there. So if you're interested in those types of summer beers, I've done a bunch of them from a few different breweries, not all of them out there in the market. A lot of companies are doing a Big Beer and middle guys and smaller guys because a lot of times this time of the year when it's getting a little hot and humid, you don't necessarily want that 9%, IPA, sometimes. You just want a nice beer that you can drink all day long. This one's coming in, again, the Montauk Summer Ale at 5.6. So it's nowadays that's sessionable, right? And Budweiser just in comparisons around 4.3, 4.2, give or take a couple of tenths. So again, a little higher than that, but again, you could probably drink a beer like this, on the beach all day long, and if you pace yourself a little bit without having too much trouble. So that's why I want to dive into this because Montauk's a pretty big brewer out here, and they've brewed. I've reviewed other beers for them on this channel, and most of them I think I've reviewed pretty favorably. There could be one or two that maybe not as much, but again, that's just the way it is. And again, I'm giving you my opinion. In my experience of drinking beers and studying beer and things like that. If you agree, disagree, feel free to chime in under Facebook or YouTube. I love to hear it. And I do get some people that sometimes they get oxidized beers and they've had fresh ones, so they graded higher and vice versa. So again, check them out. They have a hazy IPA that's very good in their lineup of beers also. So Montauk in general has been producing pretty good beer. So we'll see how this one ranks though. So again, there's summer ale, 5.6% alcohol. Don't know why I always stick the can in front of the camera as if I'm not going to have it popping over my shoulder, but you get the idea. So without further ado, off camera here, nothing spectacular. I'm just using a regular tulip pint glass. Okay, so let's crack it open. And let me just check one thing. There it is, good. Make sure. All right, so let's pour this bad boy out here. Okay, we'll get about halfway. So what are we looking at? Excuse my several inches of foam. You don't want this at a brewery. You want 1 to 2 inches, unless you're drinking like a Hefeweizen or Belgian beer. Several inches here of a nice light. There's actually a little tan to it, like a light tan to white head. Pretty tight bubbles, looks like it's going to be holding pretty supportive. It almost looks, kind of getting that meringue-like type of look at the top. Maybe not like some other beers, but it looks pretty nice. The color on this, kind of that medium to dark gold color. If you wanted to argue that it was like a light amber, I wouldn't disagree with you. Pretty clear beer, sparkling clear, I really should say, because I can almost see myself through the other side. But nice looking beer. That's what you'd want with something like this. Summer ales, usually, as I said earlier, that you want them sessionable. You want them lighter bodied. You want them not really, bias all malt or all hops. You usually want to buy, a mixture of that. So let's take a sniff of the aroma. Okay, so you're kind of getting this herbal, floral character to the hops, almost as if they were using German noble hops like Hallertau Mittelfrüh, Tettnang, those types of hops, or maybe the Pacific Northwest equivalent here in the United States of those beers. So herbal, floral, almost as if you had a Modelo, a Special, or even the amber one, the darker colored one, or Dos Equis, almost like it's a Vienna lager. If I had my eyes closed and I didn't know what I opened, I would almost think that I had some German noble hops in there. So you kind of, even little grassy, floral, earthy type of character to the hops. But nice. I mean, I think it's good for the style as far as the smell. Okay. Slightly dank. I mean, the malt I'm getting on it is kind of like a bread crust, cracker, maybe like a Ritz cracker type of malt aroma. Again, almost like a Vienna lager. Okay, like if you were drinking one of those Modelos or Dos Equis or Dos Equis. I know I always say Dos Equis sometimes because I remember learning Spanish. It was Dos Equis, not Dos Equis. Okay, but I could be mistaken. I don't speak Spanish fluently. Okay, so don't grade me on my Spanish. Okay, but pretty nice. I mean, for the style, again, like it smells like those beers. If you're looking for the aroma of some of the summer beers that still sit with high citrus, pineapple, grapefruit, orange, this is not for you. This is going to be more earthy. It's kind of like even an international pale lager or even an American lager like a Budweiser Miller on steroids. Like definitely more hop aroma with this beer than those beers. I don't want to even compare it, but it kind of gives you that earthy, spicy, herbal, floral kind of character to the hops, different than the citrus, tropical fruit type of aroma that you get with a lot of pale ales and IPAs also. Okay? So anyway, guys, cheers. Let's take a taste of this. Nice medium carbonation, nice crisp, pretty well attenuated beer, meaning that, there's not a lot of residual sweetness to the beer. There is some sweetness to the malt, but not cloyingly sweet, pretty crisp. You get that herbal, floral, dank kind of character to the hops in this, and they're in that toasty, doughy bread profile on the malt is standard. So it's kind of like, but it's not over, it's not standing out basically. It's kind of like run-of-the-mill beer here. It's almost like you're drinking beer flavored beer, like, you're getting that herbal floral. So if you're someone that doesn't like that from your days in college or whatever, that sometimes people get turned off by herbal floral hop character because nowadays the IPAs are flooding the market so much that they don't appreciate this. This is pretty good, but where I'm going to criticize it is that there's this kind of like, let me take another swig just to make sure. We talk about moderate bitterness. Let me just talk about that first. But I'm getting it again. I get this almost like, I don't want to say slimy. It's not like it's contaminated or anything. This very thick kind of aftertaste, almost like old beer, like you're in an old college bar and the beer is flat and whatever. And this is not flat. Again, it is kind of refreshing, but kind of that old beer kind of coating on my tongue. Which again, I know that doesn't sound very pleasant, but that you get with a Yingling or an old Modelo sitting out, in the glass. So that's not very pleasant to me, at least, with it. But it's still that herbal floral character. The malt again is that bread crust doughy. So, guys, let me just take another swig here. Again, the best thing I can compare it to is some of the Modelos out there, which again is just it's almost like a Vienna lager. This is kind of a cross between a Vienna lager and either an international pale lager, even though it's an ale. It's a summer ale. If you're looking for that, again, that citrus note, fruit note, even though I'm not big for fruit beers either, okay, I sometimes criticize some of the, unless it's an authentic German Radler, I'm not big with lemon in my beer or whatever. If you're looking for something like that, this beer would not be for you. If you're looking for a crushable, pretty quaffable beer that has a lot more malt and hop character than your typical Budweiser Millers, and you're looking to dive into craft beer from those beers or Heinekens and things like that, this beer would be a nice step up, I think, on the character. Where I would criticize it, though, it's almost like it doesn't know whether to go to a crisp, summer beer, or they want to just go with a Vienna lager, call it a Vienna lager, or that's where I struggle with this beer. But listen, I sound like I'm mocking it or bashing the beer. It's actually, it's refreshing. If I was sitting on a porch deck, summer time, I wouldn't stick my nose up at it. But if I wanted, a beer like this, and especially coming from still technically, I believe, craft beer, I would expect something a little bit, maybe, I don't know, a little bit more. I don't want that I don't know what's giving me that kind of slimy kind of mouthfeel. Kind of like old beer kind of taste to it. That I have a problem with. Also, so again, let me say overall drinkability, listen, enjoyability, I would give it maybe like a B. Okay, maybe that's being too kind, like kind of B. If I was comparing it to, and it's tough to compare this to a lot of the summer ales out there, even, again, not technically big beer, but Sam Adams, and you want that crushable light beer, I would go with a typical German Pilsner, highly attenuated type of beer first than this. I think there are other better summer beers out there. Montauk's a great brewery. I've drank many beers from them, reviewed beers on this channel from them that I've given very high praises. Just recently, I reviewed one of their hazy IPAs. It's phenomenal. This one just falls flat for me, guys. I just can't put it any other way. It's my opinion. It's my channel. Whatever. If you don't agree, feel free to chime in. I'd love to hear dissenting comments and opinions. I just think for a summer ale, I got to bring it down to like a C. Maybe even C minus. If they're looking for summer ale, I think I've had other brands from small farm breweries to big beer that just stood out a little bit better. This kind of is like an older kind of Vienna lager that just doesn't pop. I think it should be even a little more attenuated, possibly. It's just not doing it for me, as you could probably tell from there. But again, if I'm sitting at a friend's house, they give it to me, I'd rather take this over many American lagers, American light lagers, than like a Budweiser or something like that. But I think this is really, a Vienna lager for them. It's not bad. It's just like, I'm getting confused with the summer ale thing, and I feel that I'm drinking like a Vienna lager. Not that they have to change the labeling, and there's no written laws or rules about it. I just find that, summer ale, I'm expecting something maybe a little more attenuated, even to a certain degree, and not having that filmy, just easier to drink. It's almost adding like more to the mouthfeel, being more like, instead of medium-bodied, to medium full-bodied. But anyway, guys, enough about this beer. Tonight's beer dissection was Montauk Summer Ale. Okay, the brewery is phenomenal. Okay, they produce a lot of great beers. This one is just falling flat for me for some reason. I didn't check the date. I would expect that this is pretty fresh. It's kind of muddled. They got a best by October of 23. I'm filming this in July of 23. So, and I live here on Long Island. So I'm hoping this is brewed somewhat locally, even if it's not at the brewery out there on the east end of Long Island. So I think you can find better summer ales, but by no means don't misinterpret. Montauk Brewing Company has brews and continues to brew some phenomenal beers. Just the summer ale just doesn't sit right with me. Okay, guys? So next beer dissection video, have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.